Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Afro Comic Con. You are here with Blurred Binder, Noah Washington, and Mr. Diallo Riddle, creator of the TV shows Southside and Sherman Showcase. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm good, Noah. Thanks for having me.
So let's get started. First off, congratulations. I saw that you have made a whopping deal with Warner Brothers Pictures. Go into that. Tell me what's going to come out of that.
Well, you know what? This is how much it's worth. No, I'll tell you, it's a crazy time for us because we've been out here in the wilderness, selling ideas case by case. Whether it was to HBO or Comedy Central or IFC, like we were always those guys who were basically like arms traders. Like we went and took our ideas where we thought they would stand the best chance to live. And that's where we ended up, usually selling them. But now we have a home. We are at Warner Brothers, which is the home of like just some great. It's really got that salon feel right now because everybody from Ava DuVernay to Robin Thede to Quinta Brunson. Like there are just a lot of good people at Warner Brothers now, and we're all creating and we're all sort of inventing this new language that we might be able to come into once COVID's over and everybody gets to start shooting. A lot of people have been trying to get out there and shoot again, but if even one person gets sick on a production, I think actually the magic number is 3 people. It can be a grip, a background actor, or the director. It doesn't have to be a person at the top of the sheet, as they say. If 3 people get sick, you have to shut down production. So right now, it's really difficult for everybody to get back to shooting the way that we want to. But as soon as it's over, I think there's just going to be a flush of new material, heading to the market, and everybody's doing what they can. So you'll probably see fewer people on camera at once. You'll see a lot more cartoons and adult cartoons. The label of adult cartoon has always carried a stigma to it. I think that's probably going to go away for a little bit. And that's what I would say.
Oh, wow. So can you tell us, what medium has interested you the most so far? Do you have any particular idea? Yep.
I think right now it's a very exciting time. I think they're all exciting. One of the reasons we went to Warner Brothers is because they're known for having great levels of success at both a broadcasting level, which is, things like, one of their biggest shows is Big Bang Theory. So they do those big comedies. I was on Marlon. Like I want to get back into the world of doing like a big sitcom with the live studio audience. Once we have live studio audiences again, we have a show that's like that, sort of based on Bashir Salahuddin, my writing partner, and my life. So we have a show like that, but then we also have shows like, we have shows that are more like Southside and Sherman Showcase, which are streaming, single camera and sort of niche. And I think that between broadcast and streaming, that's the future of the industry. I'm not sure that there's a long future in cable right now. If you ever look at the highest rated cable shows, it's usually wrestling and the Fox News or MSNBC lineup. Like those are the shows that really get the big cable ratings right now. I tend to like the shows that are on Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, those kind of streamers. And then there's still something to be said about the shows that are on ABC, NBC, like sort of the big shows that you see when you go home and visit your family at Thanksgiving.
Okay. So for us in the audience who have not seen Sherman Showcase or Southside, how would you describe it?
I describe it as the greatest thing in your life that you are missing. You need to stop watching this, put it on pause, and go watch Sherman Showcase and Southside. Man, they come from 2 very different places, but I think that they're both very, very, very funny shows. And I can say that because I'm not just the only creator. It's not just my voice. It's the voice of my writing partner, Bashir Salahuddin, and all of our collaborators on all the projects. What I'll say is Southside is a grounded comedy in the sense that like it kind of takes place in the real world, and it takes place on the South Side of Chicago. It's a place that people have demagogued and try to make it seem like it's the worst place on the planet. I'm not saying any politicians' names, but that's because I try to keep that person's name out of my mouth. But like you often hear people dissing Chicago specifically. And this is the city that produced everybody from Michael Jordan to Barack Obama. I think that it's an amazing city that has too long been reflected solely in the lives of people who live in the suburbs and on the north side. So you get Bill Murray and you get the Chicago Cubs. Our show lives in the world of the Chicago White Sox. It lives in the world of Hyde Park and places like Inglewood and Harvey and neighborhoods that are frequently left out of the conversation about Chicago. But our show has heart, and it reminds people that whether you live on the south side of Chicago, the southwest side of Atlanta, Philly, doesn't matter, South Central LA. Apparently Black people love living on the south side of cities. I don't know what to do with that is, but it's one of those things where, like, wherever you're from, if you grew up in these kind of neighborhoods, you know that while people think it's all like crime and you wake up every morning like, Mom, I'm so happy that, you off drugs. Like, like that's what they think life is like in those, and it's not at all. Like there are, astronomers who live on the southwest side of Atlanta. There are bankers who live in the south side of Chicago. And we wanted to give the opportunity, I'm from Atlanta, grew up there. We wanted to give the chance for people to see what it's really like living in these working class neighborhoods. The term working class is too often applied to one group of people who, aren't necessarily Black people. Like Black people, we usually have a job or two jobs, and we work really hard for less pay. So we wanted to show what a real working class, background, a real working class neighborhood were like. So that was Southside. Not to be too verbose, but Sherman Showcase is a little bit of the opposite. It sort of exists in a heightened reality. And the thing I like about it is that it looks like Soul Train, but it feels like a comic book. When we pitched it to IFC, and the second season is going to be on IFC and AMC, the way that we pitched it, we said, yep, there you go. So if you like zombies, we've got zombies on the show this year. We'll probably do like a Talking Sherman show, like Talking Dead. But what we try and do with Sherman's is we try to give we're Black creators, so we try to give our characters and our friends and our actors the chance to do things that they can't do on any other show. When we sold it to IFC and AMC, we said, listen, if 30 Rock took place at SNL, Sherman Showcase takes place at Soul Train. So they bought it. They thought that we were going to be basically doing 8-episode parody of Soul Train, but we didn't do that. What we did was we decided to have the songs on the show be original, have the characters, the people who are on stage for the most part be original, and then just do everything. So if you ever watch Sherman Showcase, you'll see that we have everything from fake movie parodies to commercials, fake commercials to original songs that have won awards. We really throw everything that we have creatively into this big, gigantic sandbox. And I think the proof is in the pudding. I know that may sound a little bit confusing, but once you start watching, you'll understand exactly what I mean. It's the reason why John Legend signed up to be the executive producer of the show. And through him and through our own personal contacts, we got everybody from Marlon Wayans to Neo to Lil Rel to Tiffany Haddish. We got all of our friends on this show where they literally get to do everything that they ever wanted to do on SNL or just in a movie. If somebody comes to us and is like, hey, I've always wanted to play a spy, but they don't cast people like me to be a spy, we're like, well, we'll write a segment where you get to play a spy. And so Sherman, our host, will say, hey, check out this new movie from Tiffany Haddish. And then you'll see Tiffany, getting to play that spy character that Hollywood doesn't always walk up to her and let her do. We had Vic Mensa play a character that was a lot like Prince. And, if you know anything about Vic, he has a killer Prince impression. So we played it completely serious. Like we were like, Vic Mensa, you are Prince. Vic Mensa is a rapper for some of the people who don't know that, a socially conscious rapper. And he loves Prince, but his music doesn't always allow him to go in that Prince direction. So a show like Sherman Showcase allows us to give him that platform.
It's really funny that you say that. What creative leeway do your guests get? You've had notable guests on like John Legend, Tiffany Haddish,
Quincy Jones.
So how much, creative leeway do you give? How active?
We give a lot. Bashir and I started off at Jimmy Fallon. We were the guys who helped launch that show with Jimmy. So we wrote Slow Jam the News, including Slow Jam the News with President Obama. We did History of Rap. Like we were those guys who were always like, yo, now we got to do this. But when you work at a show like that, you're dealing with famous people every day. And so you get used to pitching them ideas that they don't like. And then sometimes they'll pitch you back ideas that are terrible or would never fly on NBC. So you have to diplomatically talk them into being able to do stuff that may be outside their comfort zone. I'll never forget, we had Puffy on Fallon one night, and you know, we had an idea that we thought was great, but all his people were around. His people were like, "No, you can't be seen being silly. No, you gotta be Puffy. You gotta be Puffy." But we, you know, kept talking and kept persuading. And then he came out and he did it, and it was actually really fun. Him and Jimmy had a great time doing it. I guess I say all that to say that it's always a two-way street. You know, sometimes we go to the talent with the idea. Other times they come to us. Pharrell came to us one time and pitched us this. It was a preacher character, and truth be told, it was a little too racy for Fallon, but it's the perfect kind of thing to do on a Sherman showcase. So, you know, whether it's John Legend playing Duke Ellington, which is something that he wanted to do, you know, like we always try to give people the chance to do things that they don't always have the platform to do. I have another great example, which is that, you know, the website Media Takeout was always coming at Marlon Wayans like every opportunity. He was like, I don't know why they hate me so much. I just want to do something where I get to come at them for once. So we dressed him up as sort of like an Earl C. Graves, if anybody remembers who that guy is, the founder of Black Enterprise Magazine, with the big lamb chop, what is this called? Sideburns. And then we shot a sketch. What's that?
Mutton chops are what they're called.
Mutton chops, that's what it is. We did a movie trailer that made it look very serious, like The Post or like, you know, All the President's Men, but it's the publication at the heart of the movie is Media Takeout. And, you know, the whole joke being that internet journalism sometimes suffers from the fact that they don't necessarily have sources, or, you know, like they don't do a lot of fact checking. So, you know, we gave him the chance to do that. And sometimes we work with actors who are not famous at all, but we think are hilarious because they're just somebody who's on the stand-up scene or the sketch comedy scene out here in LA or New York. And we want to be first to that, you know, bonfire, if you will. We want to be the first person to be like, hey, their first appearance on TV was Sherman Showcase.
So are there any ideas that you couldn't use on Fallon that you took to Sherman Showcase? And even Southside?
Yeah. You know, this road has been a journey. We left Fallon in 2013, or actually late 2012, and we had ideas then that I think would have been on Sherman Showcase or Southside, but you know, the journey is the journey. And when we left Fallon, we actually went to HBO to start a show that eventually became Brothers in Atlanta, and it starred Jaden Smith and Maya Rudolph and Finesse Mitchell, and it took place in the city of Atlanta. And I'll spare you the gory details, but we developed that for 4 years before HBO decided that, despite giving it a series order and ordering the whole first season, they then said, well, guess what? We're not going to actually air this, and all that stuff is locked up essentially in a vault. I say all that just to say that, you know, that was 4 long years, but some of those ideas from that show, Brothers in Atlanta, definitely made it into Southside. You know, some of those ideas, while not in any recognizable form, they are still in Sherman Showcase because we imbue every show that we do. And if we do this show at CBS, it will be the same. We imbue every show that we do with our life experiences. You know, I knew you're a big fan of your grandfather and grandmother. And, you know, when you grew up in Atlanta, like you have just this way of coming up. And I grew up in a family of 6 kids where I'm the 6th. So coming from a big family, you got to be funny. You know, you got to be real funny. Otherwise, they may not feed you, like, because food is scarce when you got that many siblings. And Bashir's one of 8, even though the 2 that make it 2 more than my family are like way younger than him. So they almost don't, they're like not in the same age bracket. But, you know, Bashir and I are used to competing to be the funniest person at the dinner table. So we wanted to make sure that every show that we do felt like a little bit like you're at our family's dinner table. And these are the things that we're making you laugh at. You know, also just because of, you know, we're at a comic book convention, I have to say that both of us grew up reading tons of comics. You know, I was definitely more of a Silver Age Marvel guy, and I get the sense that Bashir was a little bit more DC graphic novel. That's okay. You know, you can curse and there's a little bit more blood in it. We get it. You know, like I love The Killing Joke. I love The Watchmen, like everybody else, The Dark Knight. And I'm thinking even now, like, there are so many comic books that have come out recently. There's an upcoming, it's not upcoming, but Naomi was so good. We still read comics to this day. And that's one of the other reasons why we went to Warner Brothers, because, you know, they are the home of DC Comics. So all of a sudden we can do Booster Gold, entrust us with Animal Man. Like, we want to bring some of the DC comic book characters that haven't gotten the chance to pop up on TV or in movies. Like, give us that. Let us take those characters and let us do something with them. Because I do like when people take a character that's not Batman or Iron Man, just one of these more obscure characters, and say, hey, this is some intellectual property y'all are not doing enough with, because real comic book fans want to see Metamorpho, in his own movies. So there you go.
Ooh, I wasn't gonna bring it up unless you had said something, man. But last time we talked, we discussed Animal Man. Now that the deal has gone down.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you,
I
think about Animal Man is that there is somebody famous, and I don't think I should probably say, because I don't want to piss off the corporate overlords, but there's a famous comedian who's actually already working with Animal Man. Now, here's the thing. He's a buddy. So I think what we can maybe do is collaborate on that one. But there's also, like, anybody who knows, like, there are literally infinite Earths in the DC universe. So there are a lot of other characters that we have since sort of gravitated to. Like, I don't know if we'll ever do anything with it, but I'd even be into an Ambush Bug series, just because through him you can actually touch all of the characters in the DC universe. So that might be a lot of fun. There's some obscure titles that I've really been into lately. I should probably not say them until the ink is dry, so to speak. But I think that we're just excited at the chance to work in the sphere. So it may not be Animal Man, because it sounds like someone might be beating us to it. I had an exciting conversation. You heard it here first. I had an exciting conversation with Reggie Hudlin the other day, and him and Michael B. Jordan are working on Static Shot. So maybe that's something that could come together. We'd love to work with them on that project. And there's also actually, they're characters that I don't know what to do with, but I just kind of want to. I just want to be able to say that I touched that side of the DC universe. Mr. Freeze. Kind of a goofy character when I was growing up. But then there was that episode of the animated series where they completely reinvented his backstory.
Oh, yeah, Nora, yeah.
Yes. I think that's such a tragic, amazing story. Like, I want to write something with Mr. Freeze in it. You know what I mean? If I'm being 100% honest. So, yeah, I feel like I'm spilling a lot of tea, a lot of my personal business, but I feel like, why not? I feel like everybody who is watching this, probably we share common interests, so why not talk about Mr. Freeze and Ambush Bug and some of the other characters that we talked about.
Remember, guys,
I think Seth Rogen, by the way, Seth Rogen is working on Booster Gold. I could be wrong about that. So a lot of your favorite DC characters that haven't had a property come out yet, there are people working on them, but everybody works at their own pace. And in this business, sometimes things don't end up getting made, but we're definitely looking in every direction and thinking about the characters like a Mr. Freeze, who we just loved as a kid and would love to do something with.
Okay, so is there any characters that are currently established? DC, they're doing this whole multiverse marketing, right? Is there any characters you'd want to reestablish, redefine, kind of like Matt Reeves and Ben Affleck Batman?
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. I'll be honest, that's not where my brain has been at. I've been more into, instead of reestablishing, I've been more about establishing, just because both DC and Marvel just have so many characters. I'm like, why does nobody ever do anything with that? So no, you might have stumped me with this one. I haven't thought so much about reestablishing that much. I mean, yeah, I feel like any character that I bring up as reestablishing is only going to get me into hot water, because it's going to mean that I'm throwing out somebody else's take on it. And yeah, that's I can think of a character I'd like to reestablish, but I'm not picking that fight. But I don't think that they've ever serviced it perfectly, but I'm not picking that fight today.
So recently, it's come out in the news that really it's a rumor that they might be introducing a Miles Morales, and for people who don't know who Miles Morales is. Miles
You're
Morales
probably you're probably watching the wrong project.
exactly.
Go ahead.
He is the African American, half Hispanic Spider-Man based off of Donald Glover, who was introduced into the Marvel Universe in the early 2010s. He's since gotten hugely popular. He got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which blew up, made him more popular than ever.
Best movie of the year, I always say. I think it was the best movie of the year.
It's absolutely crazy how well that movie did, and it looks like he might be giving a live action adaptation.
Right.
Would you want to tackle that? If you would want to tackle that, who would you get? Who would you cast?
Oh, who would I cast? Oh, that's even worse.
It all started here.
I'd have to go through casting. I don't know, because I'd want him to look like a kid. I'd really want him to look like a kid. You know what's so funny is that and I'm not pitching this, but I actually feel like Miles Brown could maybe play that part. Miles Brown from Blackish could maybe play that part in just a few years. It's weird because his name is Miles, but yeah, that's a tough one. I think you need somebody who is going to be, because here's the thing, Shameik, who did the voice in Into the Spider-Verse, I think did some of the best voice acting. That could have thrown the whole movie off, despite all the rest of the cast. Like, I think he nailed what we all think of as Miles Morales. So that was other than Miles Brown, maybe in a year, because here's the good news. Miles Brown has a few more years to grow up, so maybe it's him. But that's a real hard one. Do you have an idea, Noah? Who should we use?
Oh man,
because I want him to be teenage Miles Morales. I don't want him to be like, I hate it. Nothing worse in the world when you watch these high school movies and you're like, that dude is 27 years old. Like, I don't.
The Riverdale route.
Huh?
Oh man, the Riverdale route. Man,
Riverdale. I feel like that happens in everything. You can go back to Clueless. I'm like, these are some 20-somethings. Like, they should have all failed by now. Yeah.
Who would I cast? You see, I want to be a real one to my friends who are actors, and say them. But man,
it's tough because there aren't a lot of places to find actors in that age range doing that kind of work who haven't already done that kind of work. You know what I mean? Like Saving Dion, he's done that work already. So you don't want to just ape from something where they're already playing a superhero necessarily. I think you probably have to find somebody, maybe it's a Broadway actor or something, or maybe it's just somebody who we just don't know yet. It's much easier to cast people once you get to the 20s and 30s because they've already done some acting of some heft, if that makes sense.
Man, I actually, as I thought about it, I have a good buddy, Isaiah Hill. Shout out. He's about to be on Kevin Durant's new Apple TV show playing the younger version. Oh, man, I just can't think of it right now. I'm a bad friend.
Wait a second. So wait, what's his name?
Isaiah Hill. He's about to premiere on Apple TV for anybody out there listening, on Kevin Durant's new TV show. He's playing the younger version. I'm gonna give it to him.
He actually play? He actually plays basketball. He's super tall.
Oh yeah, and the rumor is that they're going for a little older multiverse version.
So, see, I didn't know this. Okay, that would have been helpful.
So, yeah. But he's only 17, 18. Sure, he looks older, but
these basketball players always look 35 to me, and I'm like, how's that man a freshman?
He looks older than me, and I'm 22.
I'm telling you, only recently did I start looking older than the basketball players I root for. Because for years I was just like, that dude ain't that. We are not. He is not younger than me.
Man, we need to call the NCAA. Something's just not right. I haven't even grown like facial hair. And
hey, I said that for a long time too. It took me a long time to feel comfortable enough because you got to go through a weird period to grow it thick. But yeah, now I'm finally getting to the place where like it's super thick. In fact, my wife's probably gonna want me to cut it off pretty soon. So.
Oh no, keep it. Give hope to all.
I was like, I am Samson now. This is my strength. I feel like one of the ancient pharaohs on the Nile.
Oh man. So my next question is, recently we're doing moderated another panel. It's remembering the life and legacy of the Black Panther Chadwick Boseman. One of the panelists out there, Mr. Ty Samuels, he mentioned something that made us think about the first time you and I had talked.
Mm-hmm.
He had mentioned Shango, which those who don't know is an African deity within the Yoruba Nigerian tradition. My question
which
to you
we mentioned on Sherman Showcase.
Exactly. What role has African culture, not African American, but African culture, played in your creations and art?
You can't be the son of John Riddle Jr., my father, without growing up with every sort of Ndinka symbol and just knowing the meaning of Sankofa and using Swahili at the dinner table. It was all around us growing up. In fact, my older brother named his son Sankofa because we were just always raised with. And what's funny is when you're a kid, when your parents are raising you that way, you find it annoying. I don't care how woke you think you might be. Like every 12-year-old is thinking to himself, why can't we just be Jeff and John and all these by the way, my father's name is John, but like it's one of those things that I really appreciate now when I see like other people sort of like blow up and then you talk to them, you're like, oh, you have no social consciousness. You just like, yeah, you're black like me, but like you don't have any love or sense of where our people come from or where they've been. So I can't thank my dad enough really for raising us with that, because I carry it with me. I carry it with me everywhere. It's almost like having the ancestors on my shoulder. And I think that I live for them. And I'm trying to raise my sons. I have 3 boys, trying to raise them the same way. And it's hard, it's really hard because I feel like every generation probably moves a little further and further out from that. And there are more distractions and they got the screens and, so I'm trying to get them to use I'm trying to get them to add an African skin to their Fortnite character. I'm doing the best that I can, I'm trying. You got to move forward, but you always have to stay present and know what, is pushing you along. It's a long-winded way of saying that I can't create art, make TV shows or songs or anything without using the lessons that my very, very pro-Black and pro-African root parents instilled with me. I just can't do it. Funny jokes will occur to me. Just one today, I was writing a script. And I was like, you know what? This joke will get a lot of laughs, but I can't stand behind the truth of it because I don't think it's the truth. And I don't want to cast our people in that light. So that's the additional burden, especially when you work in comedy, of being a Black creator, I would say.
All right. So how, what you just said, did that go into mine? You have made a popular song on Sherman Showcase. Have some candy.
Anybody like you and me grew up with lots of, let's talk about, we had kente cloth.
Oh yeah.
Like all throughout the house, African art. I won't speak for Cole, Mr. Eaton, but John Riddle always had like a lot of those those Sambo figurines around the house. And you go into most bougie Black people's houses, they have those Sambo, and I'm always like, well, I get it. Like we want to remember where our people have been in terms of their depictions in American culture. But I'm always like, who did we buy these off of? Are we funding the bad guys? Because I would hope these aren't all being made in a factory somewhere in Tennessee where they're like, damn, they sure do like it. Where are our Sambo dollars going?
Now, I know you might be into this, and we're rounding up the end here. Lovecraft Country. Have you had an opportunity?
Yes. Can we talk? Yes, I've seen the whole series.
Oh man. Give me your what you think. What do you think?
First off, let me say that I love it. I love seeing a show where you had people who were not. it was just great to see not just Black people, but also specifically Black women, of not like some wafy skinny type, just in those settings, just doing that stuff, and full disclosure, I've worked with Jordan Peele before. I was just so proud of what Jordan and Misha and everybody who worked on that show did, because to me, that is the future of what everything. And I have heard the criticism that they try to do too much in season 1. Quite honestly, it's based on a book, guys. So I think that I loved watching it. It was great to see science fiction and horror and adventure and Black history, because Black history has horror and adventure in it. It was great to see, and I was a big fan. Big fan of Lovecraft Country.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Riddle, for being here. We loved it.
No
Thank
problem.
you. And remember, guys,
I wish I could be there in person.
Man, maybe one of these days we'll all meet up. So thank you all for watching Afro Comic Con. Please remember to fundraise. We have a big fundraiser going out to help innovate and bring technologies to our neighborhood. So thank you so much. You all have a great and wonderful day. Once again, thank you, Mr. Riddle, for coming on and agreeing to do
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. And you all have a great day.
Yep. Peace.